The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report, prime time on My 24 Milwaukee. We've got an exclusive interview with Bobby Roode, the latest headlines, discussion on TNA Bound for Glory this Sunday night on pay-per-view, all the latest from WWE, TNA, and Ring of Honor Wrestling, and so much more, including Star of the Week and the History Book. The Pro Wrestling Report Primetime TV starts right now.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime TV, the longest-running pro wrestling news program in the world, with your hosts, David Hero and Damian Nelson.
Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson alongside David Hero. And David Hero, our top story this week, TNA Bound for Glory tomorrow night on pay-per-view. Two big matchups on the top of the card. The first one is for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. It's Bobby Roode versus Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, the champion right now. We saw on Be the Booker yesterday how you would see that match go. But this one is going to be an interesting matchup because both these men super phenomenal in the middle of that ring.
You got two guys that can go, two guys that can give a 5-star match. Kurt Angle is a perfectionist. I'm sure he's gone through this match at least a dozen times in his head. Am I willing to compare it to a Savage Steamboat match? It probably won't be as good, but it's going to be close. These two guys are two wrestling machines that can go 30, 40 minutes, even an hour if need be. It's going to be a great match, Bound for Glory.
Bobby Roode could walk out of Bound for Glory with his first TNA World Championship, and it seems as if things are heading in that direction. And we're going to be talking to Bobby Roode later in this program about Bound for Glory and some of his preparations for that matchup right here tonight on the Pro Wrestling Report. Another matchup, David Hero, is a fight. It was made official on Impact this past Thursday night. Hulk Hogan steps back into the ring for the first time in many years to
Not
take
really.
on.
He was in the ring a year ago in a
wrestle.
tag match.
Wow.
With Ric Flair and Abyss.
No one remembers that.
What a hype machine you are.
Versus Sting. So it's Hulk Hogan. It's Hollywood. It's the immortal one going up against the icon, Sting, in a fight. Not a wrestling match, David, but a fight.
And it's going to be a fight. It's going to be two guys punching and kicking and punching some more. So if you're looking for a match that's going to be like, wow, that was fantastic. It's the Stinger, the guy from the late 90s with the spiked bleach blonde hair, and the Hulkster with the guy who before he had the extensions. You're not going to see that match.
We've seen this done many a time when you have performers that may have some challenges actually wrestling a matchup
Like
be
David
put
Arquette,
into a fight.
Like Jenna Maraska.
This fight, according to Be the Booker that we saw online, you see Sting winning this matchup.
Hey, we can't give that away for free.
It happened yesterday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The Stinger, I mean, he's the guy. They've been building around this match around Sting. Hogan is the garnish, dare I say. He's the guy that's going to be there in the ring, but Sting is going to be the guy that's going to be doing all the heavy lifting, which makes me a wee bit nervous.
You can check out Be the Booker online on our website, PWRshow.com, on demand right now. All the matches for Bound for Glory discussed in great detail, and we'll be live with you after Bound for Glory for the PWR post show as well. David Hero, it's time for the headlines brought to you by PWRshow.com. This is just a sampling of some of the things being discussed right now and some of the big news stories coming out of the professional wrestling world. The first one is an ex-diva who thinks that John Morrison is not getting a push due to outside complications. This was said on an online TV show, and specifically it was Maria Kanellis who said the following in regard to John Morrison. I think it's a lot of complications of outside stuff. I think that a lot of times they go with who's going to be there, who's always going to be there, who's going to be the easiest. He's very easy, and I love him to pieces, but I think it's outside complications, and I think that's why he's not getting a push.
So they're putting all the heat on Melina is what they're doing. The diva that's no longer with the company. But we've heard rumblings.
Morrison and Melina dating
right,
for quite some time.
We've heard this before, that Vince McMahon also has not a whole lot of respect for the former Johnny Nitro, because he always felt that when Melina and, dare I say, Batista were having relations.
Not Mason Ryan.
No, not wellness policy, but Batista, that Vince was disappointed that John Morrison never stood up for himself and confronted Batista on that issue at hand. And Vinnie Mac is a weird kind of cat. I mean, Edge didn't get his big push until he stole Lita from Matt Hardy.
More online at PWRshow.com. Next headline, David Hero, former WWE and TNA star, unfortunately arrested on a robbery charge. This is, there's a lot more to it than that, though. TMZ.com initially broke this story about Travis Tyson Tomko. You may remember Tomko from WWE and TNA. Currently 38 years old, was arrested in Florida on Monday after it was discovered in a Chili's restroom that the former wrestling star was injecting himself with stolen pain medication, specifically oxycodone, that he had stolen from a CVS pharmacy just beforehand. This, of course, resulting in his arrest as he shot up some 178 crushed and melted down pills into his system, spending some 40 minutes in a bathroom in Chili's, and he was arrested and taken into custody on the robbery charge, and he allegedly told police that he is indeed suffering from, in case you hadn't figured that out by now, from what we've told you, a severe drug problem.
I guess the more shocking thing is that it was in a Chili's bathroom as opposed to a Waffle House.
Or a Burger King bathroom.
Well, that's how rumors start.
Once got down in there.
All kidding aside, let's hope that Tomko gets himself checked into a wellness facility and gets himself straight. I mean, 38 years old, he had a great career early on, and then things just started to fall apart for him. But super talented big man that could go in the ring and had two great runs in both companies. Let's hope he gets some help and he's not another statistic in the wrestling world.
His second run in TNA wasn't so great. But be that as it may, we do hope that Tomko finds his way out of this unfortunate situation. Again, more details of that story right now on PWRshow.com. Another story featured right now on PWRshow.com. Big news, David Hero, a participant in WWE's new video game, WWE 12, UFC star and former WWE star Brock Lesnar. And Lesnar had some comments as to why he chose to be included in the game. And he says, and I quote, "It's one of those things where it's part of my history. Without WWE, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I would not have the high visibility. I wouldn't have had the leverage to come into the UFC. I would have had to do it all on my own. I'm no idiot when I say that when I was with the WWE, the visibility from that company and what they did on a global network for Brock Lesnar as a whole put me on another level."
Let's face it, he got paid.
More on this story on our online edition of the Pro Wrestling Report in our 5 more minutes actually segment. Brock Lesnar discussing about whether or not he's got more wrestling in him, specifically in WWE. That's this week's headlines, brought to you by PWRshow.com. Ring of Honor Wrestling just going off the air right here on My 24 Milwaukee, and it was a show dominated by the Briscoes tonight, David Hero. What I thought they did very well, too, was continue to explain to us why the champion Davey Richards and Roderick Strong have such an issue with each other. But what was very, very interesting about this episode is the amount of time spent on that tag team matchup, which was a brutally physical matchup that saw the Briscoes cheat to win, which leads into everything we've learned about the Briscoes up until tonight's episode. And what they did was let it simmer, let it sink in, and let you realize the importance of it, which is one thing that I feel is missing from both WWE and TNA at times.
Well, Ring of Honor is obviously introducing the Briscoes to the live TV audience, or the TV audience at home, with the hopes of eventually getting that big money payoff tag match with Haas and Benjamin.
And we saw Haas and Benjamin be a subject of the focus this week on Ring of Honor Wrestling, and Shelton Benjamin mentioning how he had spent time in WWE. David Hero, should they focus more on that, or the stars that they have built?
You have to. I mean, that's like the New York Yankees of wrestling. You got to say where you've been, especially when you've been to the dance. It just gives them more credibility for fans that aren't familiar with Haas and Benjamin. They were tag team champions. They were part of
the world's
Team
greatest
Angle.
tag team.
Exactly.
With the Hoods.
Absolutely. Use that to your advantage. Give them more credibility in the ring.
Another matchup tonight was Eddie Edwards defeating Michael Elgin. And David Hero, one question that comes from this matchup, you've said many a time as it pertains to stars in WWE that they look like frat boys and they can't be taken seriously. One would argue that some of the stars in Ring of Honor, Davey Richards, Roderick Strong, Eddie Edwards, who are amazingly talented in the ring, don't look much different from them. Does this change your opinion of the frat boy mentality in professional wrestling?
Well, not really, but it works in Ring of Honor because you don't have any big 7-foot monsters in ROH. So they could all beat each other up.
That's Ring of Honor Wrestling, and we'll talk more about next week's Ring of Honor Wrestling as next week right here on My 24 Milwaukee. Still to come on the Pro Wrestling Report, we've got that exclusive interview with Bobby Roode of Impact Wrestling, the man in the main event this Sunday night at Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory pay-per-view, Star of the Week, and the History Book. All still to come here on the Pro Wrestling Report, Prime Time.
And you're watching the Pro Wrestling Report on My 24.
This week's PWR Star of the Week is Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Triple H has been a man amongst boys lately on both Raw and SmackDown brands. He's been doing the right thing by helping elevate stars as CM Punk, The Miz, and Ron Killings, showing a humble side of himself, bearing himself only to come back a little bit stronger and stronger every week. Once again, this week's PWR Star of the Week is the fan favorite Triple H.
Hello fans, Damian Nelson here with the man who's going into Bound for Glory on October 16th for the World Championship against Kurt Angle. Bobby Roode, what does it mean to have won that Bound for Glory series after months and months of work, and now you go into the biggest show of the year from TNA Wrestling at Bound for Glory in Philadelphia for a championship opportunity?
You know, it was a long road. It's it didn't start really months ago with this Bound for Glory series. It started almost 9 years ago when I first came to this company, and 13 years of my life I've dedicated my entire life to this business and to one day having an opportunity to become a world champion. And I've had some success as a tag team wrestler. I've held tag team titles with Team Canada and of course with James and Beer Money, and the fans can kind of recognize me as a tag team guy, but it's time to kind of step away from that and prove what I can do on my own. And it's going to be a tough test against Kurt. Without a doubt, he's the best wrestler in the world, in my opinion. So there's no better setting. Bound for Glory, the biggest pay-per-view of the year, against the best wrestler in the world. I'm going to go out there, give it everything I got, and hopefully capture my dream and become a world champion.
And it's sort of fitting that we're doing this here in the workout room, because you are indeed a machine, as is Kurt Angle. That is going to be one intense wrestling matchup at Bound for Glory, really the match that I think most fans are going to want to see that night.
I hope so. The main event should be something that people would look forward to seeing. The world title is obviously the most important title in your company. Kurt's, like you said, Kurt's a machine. There's no doubt about it. I don't think he's ever out of his prime. He's been in this business a long time. His record speaks for itself. And like I said, it's time for me to go out there and prove what I can do.
And you've proved it for the last 9 years in TNA Wrestling, and now at Bound for Glory on October 16th, you get a World Championship opportunity. Best of luck to you. Looking forward to the matchup, and thank you for spending a little bit of time with us here on My 24 Milwaukee.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Bobby Roode, ladies and gentlemen.
On October 16th, it's the biggest night in TNA history. The most famous name in the history of wrestling, Hulk Hogan versus Sting. One fight, only one man will survive. And Will it be a new era in TNA? In his first one-on-one heavyweight title fight ever, can Bobby Roode defeat the champion Kurt Angle? TNA Wrestling and Direct Auto Insurance present Bound for Glory, live, exclusively on pay-per-view.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Anderson, and you are watching Damian Nelson and my super friend David Hero on Milwaukee's My 24. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime here on My 24 Milwaukee. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero. And David Hero, this past Monday night on WWE Raw, it was a very newsworthy edition of that show on the USA Network, mostly led by the fact that Vince McMahon came back to WWE TV to announce to Triple H that he had been relieved of his duties on WWE Raw and that John Laurinaitis would be replacing him. John Laurinaitis, the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations, would be replacing him, and he would have a busy night ahead of himself as he would not only bring back The Miz and R-Truth to active competition in WWE, but he would fire good old JR, Jim Ross.
Interesting Raw is War Monday night. When you bring back Vinnie Mac, you get back Miz and R-Truth, you fire Jim Ross.
Again.
And did it leave a lasting impression on you?
Nope.
Not at all. I mean, Vinnie Mac comes back, that's normally a huge headline.
Yeah. Did you pop for the music?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's the Mac Daddy.
Was it too soon?
No, not at all. It made sense. What was too soon was...
It didn't make sense.
No, it did make sense.
What he said didn't make any sense. How could he, who got relieved by the board of directors, go to the board of directors and be told that Triple H is being relieved?
He was returning the favor. It was just a way for Vince to get back out in front of the audience and get some heat back.
Last time we see Vince McMahon, he's crying in the middle of his ring.
Yes. And now the vindictive SOB that he is, he comes back and tells Triple H, his son-in-law, to take a hike.
Are John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon working together?
They could very well be. It wouldn't surprise me. But I guess what was more of an uneventful impact was having The Miz and Ron Killings come back so soon. Not just
their WWE product was suffering without The Miz, of course.
No, it wasn't suffering. They should have kept
ratings
them
went up this week.
When they came out down that ramp with their music hit, did anybody besides you?
They were despondent because JR had gotten fired. JR from Oklahoma. The Raw was in Oklahoma City. JR fired, and what we are told is
he wasn't made aware of that storyline. He wasn't made
aware of it, and it was news to him. And David Hero watching it, something was very different and very weird about that. I don't understand why, getting away from the fact that it was in his hometown, why JR has to be the whipping boy and treated like a piece of crap by WWE time and time again.
Because it's the way of getting the heat on John Laurinaitis to make sure that the people truly hate and boo him by having him fire that hometown's hero.
While that might have been the intent, that's not the way it came out.
Who else was he going to fire?
He could have fired anybody else. But it deflated that crowd, and I think it backfired on WWE. I think that Jim Ross has the sentimental following of not only the fans in Oklahoma City, but most of the fans watching at home. And, okay, let's not sugarcoat this. Michael Cole was a complete obnoxious jerk on Monday night, and he substantially took away from the product in his commentary.
Kettle? What? Are you kidding me? You get your notes from that guy.
Overall, the fans on our Facebook page decided that Raw was a fail this past week. Did they throw too much at the audience, David Hero, whereas it wasn't absorbed as a result?
They have no choice. They got a big pay-per-view coming up next weekend.
We've learned that The Rock will be on Raw on November 14th, the week before Survivor Series, where The Rock returns to the ring in Madison Square Garden for the Survivor Series. Vengeance is in 2 weeks. They've got a lot to do in a few weeks' time.
They have a lot to do considering they're having TV tapings in Mexico. How's that going to get over?
Well, it's going down.
I'm just saying the champion is a heel. He's going to be cheered in Mexico. That's not going to translate well to the audience at home.
Well, it's the only reason Alberto Del Rio's a champion right now anyways.
He's awesome.
In your opinion, which generally doesn't matter. That was the WWE report for this week. Well, David Hero, it's time to go back to the annals of time and to the history book. And this week, we're taking a look at the life and times of one Captain Lou Albano.
Captain Lou, Super Mario?
Absolutely. The man inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1996. The man who managed 15 tag teams to championships and 4 singles competitors to championships, but also known for being a man who helped define the rockin' wrestling era back in 1985, appearing in Cyndi Lauper's video, Girls Just Wanna Have Fun. Captain Lou Albano is a man who first crossed the line into mainstream from professional wrestling.
If it wasn't for Captain Lou Albano, I don't think MTV would have been that interested in Hulk Hogan versus Rowdy Roddy Piper for the war to settle the score in the brawl for it all. Captain Lou was a great character, told a great story. The fans genuinely hated him. I remember Captain Lou sitting on his couch, eating potato chips, and the chips all over himself while cutting a promo with the fabulous Moolah.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Thank you, Captain Lou.
The manager of champions, and that was really what was interesting about Captain Lou, is with all that and with his, I guess you could call it slavishness, he had that brain to take people to the gold, whether it be a singles competitor or tag team competitors. He managed such greats as the British Bulldogs, Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito. So many
Samoans.
great teams, the Wild Samoans as well. So many great teams led by Captain Lou Albano, who unfortunately lost on October 14, 2009, but his impression on the professional wrestling world will never be forgotten.
Oh my God, it's Charlie Haas and it's Shelton Benjamin. We are wrestling's greatest tag team and the Always Tag Team Champions. And you are watching the Pro Wrestling Report on My 24.
Well, David Hero, let's talk a little bit about TNA Impact Wrestling and, of course, their big pay-per-view this Sunday night from Philadelphia, Bound for Glory.
BFG.
It's their biggest show of the year. We talked about some of the matches coming out of that pay-per-view earlier in this episode, but one thing that hasn't been talked about is the fact that Hulk Hogan has extended his relationship with TNA Wrestling and will be staying on for at least one more year. Many say 2 years with that company. Did he prove his worth just this week in the promotion for Bound for Glory, and will he further prove his worth to the company this Sunday night?
Well, I think just the name value of Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, brother, is worth its weight in gold. I mean, he walked into New York City and got on all over ESPN for a straight day. Plus, he did other talk shows, other media appearances. Hulk Hogan is one of the few people in this universe that can knock on just about any door and walk right through.
So, given that, one would say that he is worthy of being in TNA Wrestling, but the question is, will he, much like he did this past week, actually speak about TNA Wrestling on future media appearances? We talked about it on Be the Booker yesterday, but TNA is going to be airing their pre-show for Bound for Glory on Facebook, live on Facebook. Revolutionary, new, never been done. UFC has done it as well. Is this a smart move to get more buys for Bound for Glory?
Well, absolutely. I mean, who isn't on Facebook?
I'm not.
Well, but you're not liked, that's why. But the thing is, you know, if you're a super friend or a Nelson family member, you go online, you want to see results, you want to see what's going on, you go to PWRshow.com, why not go to Facebook? It's a smart way to get an audience that may not have the ability to catch part of the pre-show, and it might get some more money for them, who knows?
More about TNA, WWE, and our headlines coming up online as we go 5 more minutes online and talk about a lot of stuff we started to talk about here on Primetime on My 24. You can view that on demand, PWRshow.com, and on our YouTube channel. David Hero, next week we're going to review Bound for Glory and talk about what actually happened at that pay-per-view, along with all the latest from WWE and TNA. So be sure to tune in then, and thank you so much for tuning in and joining us here on My 24 Milwaukee. We'll see you again next Saturday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Well, David Hero, it's an online exclusive 5 more minutes.
I get time and a half for this, don't I?
You get time and 0 for this, actually. Just deal with it, play along, go right ahead. More
Always
discussion on some of the things we talked about on Primetime this week on My 24 Milwaukee. And one big thing, David Hero, Brock Lesnar now forming an official relationship with World Wrestling Entertainment. He's going to be a part of WWE 12, the video game, which comes out November 22nd. But he also has answered the question as to whether or not he sees himself back in a WWE ring in the future. And this answer leads you to speculate on a lot. Let's go to what Brock Lesnar said. And when asked if he would ever consider returning to WWE programming, he said, and I quote, "It would have to be under the right circumstances. I don't know if Mr. McMahon and I could come to the right circumstances. If it was good for me and good for him, I think that we could do something. At the end of the day, my life, my character, and my profession, I take them very seriously. At the end of the day, if it doesn't help me or my family out, and it doesn't make sense for me to do, then I don't do it. Everything would have to fall into the right place.
Bank account.
But would I consider it? Absolutely."
Of course, it's all about getting paid. I mean, he's not going to be a UFC fighter forever. I mean, he's had some severe bouts with diverticulitis, almost died twice. You know, he's married to Sable. You know that can't be cheap. And he's getting a hell of a payday on that video game, which is great for wrestling and for UFC because UFC fans are going to buy it because Brock Lesnar is in it so he can beat up the wrestling guys. Because UFC fans...
Or they're not going to entertain it one damn bit
of course they will. It's Brock Lesnar.
He's going back
to
that
marketing machine.
Fake wrestling.
You don't think
that they thought, not my thought.
I'm willing to bet UFC and Dana White are also getting a little bit of the
kickback,
the cheese on this whole deal. Absolutely.
Swiss?
Absolutely. Gouda, the whole deal.
If Brock Lesnar were to return to World Wrestling Entertainment for if only one match, who would it be against?
It's WrestleMania and The Undertaker.
Ooh, they know each other very well. There was that confrontation at the UFC event.
And Brock Lesnar owes Undertaker one match.
Brock Lesnar has taken to the internet to speak about Stone Cold Steve Austin, saying that he still thinks he owes a lot to WWE for walking out on WWE. So a little business unfinished there from WrestleMania 20.
That's because that Austin was supposed to put Brock over on Raw. Why give it away for free?
Well, we'll see what happens, and I think this is a very, very interesting step in the right direction for Brock Lesnar to make his return to WWE television. Speaking of WWE, we did learn, or at least it was made public and official, that WWE has hired back the services of BG Road Dogg James, Jesse James,
Double G,
back in WWE working as a producer, which is an agent, a role that he had formerly in TNA wrestling as well. A real good success story for the Road Dogg, who he will tell you, and he has mentioned on this very program, how he has had his problems in the past with drugs. And now clean, sober, loving every minute of life, and getting this opportunity to go into WWE and make a real difference.
And you know what? I've known Road Dogg Jesse James, BG James, for a long, long time, and I've seen the ups and downs, more downs than ups. But lately, in the past year or so, he's been doing abso-freaking-lutely tremendous.
You know,
life is on track. He's clean living, and he's worked hard to get right now to where he's always wanted to be. Is back with the E, in a great role for him.
And while many or some of you may doubt whether or not he can go beyond this probationary period, we had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with him in Atlanta at WrestleMania, where there was temptation after temptation after temptation.
Well, just
after
hanging out
temptation.
with you is a temptation.
Linda actually offered him a shot of Jameson, and he turned it down. Now that, if you can turn down a shot of Jameson, you're
from
clean.
Linda.
Right. So, and it was very inspiring to not only talk to the Road Dogg, but to see him be so good with his place in life right now. And the reward is a job that he wants and now has with WWE.
And if they're truly going to revitalize the tag team division, what better agent than a tag team expert in Road Dogg Jesse James?
Congratulations to the Road Dogg, and congratulations, I guess, also go out to Bruce Pritchard over in TNA Wrestling, as he has taken over the head writer role.
No, he's taken over TNA. They've given him everything. Talent relations, head of creative, the whole kit and caboodle is all now on Brother Love's back.
You know what's great about this 5 more minute segment? Firstly, I'll be able to say it eventually the right way, but it's 5 or so minutes.
Right.
We're in overtime
that's why
now.
there's more. 5
5 minutes more.
Yeah.
We'll call that.
Yeah.
Vince Russo replaced, still part of the writing team, but not the man, not the head writer, if you will, in Impact Wrestling and TNA. Some would say there's already been a noticeable difference on TNA programming.
Well, let's face it.
I don't know if that's the case.
Bruce Pritchard was groomed by Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He knows the operations. He knows the infrastructure.
He has the basics.
He knows how to run a wrestling company.
Because he practically
Let's just
did.
see what he can do in TNA.
It's not easy.
No, I wouldn't want that job.
It's not easy at all, and
It's hard enough working with you.
he does have a lot on his plate, and he's got to satisfy the needs of Dixie Carter as it pertains to what she wants from that wrestling organization, and she's very vocal at times as far as who should be in what spot.
That sounds completely wrong, but I know what you're saying. I mean, Dixie Carter, she's a wrestling fan first at times. But now with Bruce Pritchard involved, I think that they have the opportunity, there's that word, to get this company.
There goes that word again. I guarantee you.
No, I said opportunity.
Oh.
That they can get this company on the right track. Bruce Pritchard has the respect of quite a few of the TNA talents. So let's just see how they can do this. And coming after Bound for Glory is when you're going to see a lot of what Bruce Pritchard wants to do implemented. And let's hope that things change.
Let's see what happens. I think we'll see a lot of it at Bound for Glory as the change just became official after this last series of TNA tapings. So we'll see what happens in the, I guess, the Brother Love era of TNA wrestling. And how great was Brother Love?
Oh, he was fantastic.
My benefactor! They had the little pinky ring.
Yes.
And when's the last time we saw Brother Love? Was it on the old school Raw?
It might have been. Or the Gimmick Battle Royal, one of the two.
That was the old school Raw, I think.
Well, then why'd you ask if you knew the answer?
In the time it took you to dance around an answer, I was able to come up with the actual answer. That's why I asked the question. Gosh, are you going to be this cranky during 5 minutes more each and every week?
I'm not getting paid overtime.
I mean, you were cranky on Be the Booker?
Well, because you didn't understand, I had explained it twice.
You're just cranky because Cody Rhodes is such a bona fide star now after SmackDown this past Friday night.
He's not a bona fide star yet.
What's it going to take? What is it going to take? What else does he need? What does he need to do? You're going to ask, who's he ever beat? Beat Randy Orton three times.
When he has the world championship.
Oh, because that matters, yeah.
Well,
Roddy Piper never held the world championship.
First of all, you can't compare the two. Let me change that. I was going to say put the world championship around his waist, but it'll fall. So when it's over his shoulder, then maybe.
Why can't you just be a star?
I am.
You're bullying Cody Rhodes.
I am not
Just because you're an inch taller than him, you're bullying him.
Inch.
JR. Talked about it on PrimeTime a little bit, but you know, David Hero, I gotta say, while maybe he's playing up on this whole thing and getting some sympathy, this angered a lot of viewers, a lot of listeners tuned in
I'm
and
willing
mentioned.
to bet within 2 weeks it will have been forgotten.
You can't bring him back again, though.
Yeah, you can. Why not? And the crowd will pop once again for good old JR. Come on. You know what? Sometimes the fans are like puppets. They are. There's some real smart
Where's
ones
the
that
hand?
get it. It's up the backside. And then there's the fans out there that just don't get it. That all they do is play on their emotions, and it works every time.
But, great, I admit that. But at the same time, this will ultimately have a negative impact on the product.
No, well, yeah, because there's not one guy out there on the announce team that can tell a story. You have Jerry Lawler, who's great at what he does, being funny haha. Then you have Michael Cole, who's great at what you do, and that's annoying people. Booker T, I don't know when he's coming or
If you
going.
compare me to Michael Cole again, I'll fire your ass. I will do that.
I got a great severance
I'm
package.
sick of that. I cannot be compared to Michael Cole. Look,
You were the original coal miner. Remember? Should we roll back
I was
the
Michael
tape?
Cole before Michael Cole was Michael Cole, but Michael
Exactly.
Cole is a different Michael Cole now, and I'm not associated with that at all.
Okay.
I'm a broadcast journalist.
Yes, you are.
I'm a broadcast journalist who endorses stars who will make it in this business. Crimson, Cody Rhodes, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Heath Slater.
Heath Slater.
Give it time.
Oh, you got as much time as you need, amigo.
Tomorrow night, it is Bound for Glory, and Bound for Glory post show, David Hero, will be.
Who's under there?
Well, Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow night on the post show for Bound for Glory.